So today I have compiled a list of all of the heists in GTA Online. Surprisingly, there is only 10 in the game, so this might be a short video. But you might be confused by the title of it as well, being that everyone is going to hate on this video, and that is for good reason. These are not going to be ranked based off of how well they give you money or anything like that. I'm someone that likes to enjoy the game as it is. I try to have fun, and I don't try to mid-max my money in the game. I just feel like there's no point in doing that when the game is 11 years old and GTA 6 is coming out next year. Well, let's get started with this very interesting list. So at the very bottom of this list is going to have to be Series A. I have never found any enjoyment out of this heist. It's always just the most difficult thing you can do for the least amount of money as possible, and it almost feels like you have to have a team of 4 players that know what they're doing in order to get this heist fully complete all the way through, no one dying, or else it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Now, of course, there can be some funny moments, especially on the Benson setup, where you'll just fly off the edge because people try to do a shortcut, and it never usually works out. The start, you have to raid a yacht, which can be annoying if you have low levels, and you have the trash setup, which also is really annoying if you don't have your team coordination, and overall, the heist just is not fun in any way. Next up, we have Prison Break. Now this heist, I feel like this is kind of unfair to rank it here because it was the second in the entire game, but let's be real here. Everyone that watching this video that has done this heist, especially with randoms, it is just the worst thing ever. Now Series A could be argued to be harder, but Prison Break, there's always assigned roles in there. You have to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're doing or else it's going to be terrible. Now obviously, the main idea of this heist is just to break someone out of prison. The unfortunate part to that is you have to have someone flying a plane, flying a helicopter, 2 people break into the prison and make sure no one dies. And I can't even remember any of the setups that are fun to this heist. I think they're all just kind of there to exist. So this heist is going to go at number 9. Now we have Fleeca Job, the first heist ever introduced into the game, and I'd say it does a very good job at introducing them into the game. It only has 2 setups, and then the main heist, it introduces the hacking ability in the game, which is, I mean, it's okay, but I feel like it could have been improved on, because it only is in this heist. It should have been added to more things into the game. And they also added drilling into it as well, which is kind of tedious. They did improve it later on in the other heists that actually have drilling in them, but this first edition of it is so bad. You have to know exactly how to use it or else you're going to overheat the drill constantly or else you're not going to break into the safety deposit box, and it's just terrible. But overall, the heist just does a good job at introducing things, so I'm going to say that it's going to go here. Now the next 3 are all the Doomsday heists because I feel like they all tie into each other in like a story because, I mean, that's what they were trying to do, but I also kind of feel like they didn't have anything super notable about them. So Act 1 had you break into a hospital, I think steal some information. That's basically it. The setups in the Act 1 heist, 2 of them were a pain in the ass if you didn't have a second player that knew what he was doing. And then the actual heist, you have to have 2 competent people as well. It does give some decent money, especially if you have 2 people, you can split it and earn like 600k each with the heist bonus payouts that was recently added, but this heist just isn't that fun. Then we have Act 2, the Bogdan Problem. A lot of people used to use this heist as a glitch, if you will. There was a way to basically give the second player all the money and then the host of the heist closes their game before it actually finishes, so they're going to still have the heist and then the second player gets the money. But without any glitches, I'd say this heist is very mediocre. The setups, there is some that are very obnoxious and the worst in the game, I'd argue. Some of them don't even work half the time. But still, heist is easy and I don't really have anything super negative about it. Then we have Act 3 Doomsday. Of course, it's going to be the hardest one. It has, I think, like 6 preps and 5 setups, so it does take a long ass time to set this thing up, and you really don't earn a whole lot of money out of this, especially if you're doing 4 players. But the actual heist, it is hard if you don't have the right team, but I say that it's fun if you have the right team. There's just so many enemies in the heist. There should be someone hacking, and the hack is also quite annoying if you don't know how it works. You could fail it a lot. But at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun with the game, I'd say this heist really has a lot of enjoyment out of it. Now we have the Diamond Casino heist. I used to rank this a lot higher in my mind because, well, it was fun. There was a lot of setups you could do. You have creative freedom over how you want to do this heist. You, of course, have to do the mandatory setups so the actual heist works. But then you also had a choice to do extra setups to make it easier or harder for yourself. And I feel this is how heists, or mainly missions in the game, should be. You should have creative freedom over how the heist is going to go, but you also have to have your mandatory setups in order for it to work. I feel like if GTA 6 is going to have many heists, they should do it this way, so players can have many different ways of approaching a heist, and so players don't get burnt out, of course. I'd say that This heist is rewarding enough that it could go here. It doesn't take too much time if you have someone helping you, but if you're solo, it's just a nightmare. And then the actual heist itself is pretty easy. If you know what you're doing, you can go the same path every single time, and you're always guaranteed $1 million out of this if you don't get cash as a primary target. Then we have Cayo Perico. This is at number 3, so you could be wondering what's above this, and everyone's gonna hate me by this point. But Cayo Perico has just gotten boring for me over the years. Done it so much, and it's such an easy heist that there's no real challenge to it. Of course, if you're playing with multiple people, this heist can be an absolute nightmare because of how hard they nerfed it into the ground. Like, if you kill one guard, all the guards will get detected if they see the dead body. Before, it didn't used to work like that, and you were able to just basically kill everybody on the island with no consequence as long as a guard didn't see a dead body. Now, the only reason I'd argue this heist is all the way up here is because it's a good money-making method. If you're solo, you're guaranteed $1 million if you fill up your bag and you get the primary target. But again, there's no real challenge to it. It doesn't really feel that fun after you've done it for 4 years at this point, but I'm still going to rank it here. And so now this is where people are going to really hate me, being the number 1 and number 2. And next up we have Humane Labs Raid. I really enjoy this heist a lot because every setup feels like it actually ties into the heist itself. It does a good job at keeping the player engaged, and it's fun. The first setup, you have to obtain access codes to the lab from an IAA agent, and then you have to hold off the FIB after that. And then the next one, you have to steal insurgents from a quarry. Third setup, you have to steal a Hydra from an aircraft carrier to get an EMP device, getting a Valkyrie from the Merryweather, and then all that ties together in the end where you have to deliver the EMP to the Humane Labs raid with an insurgent you got in the second setup, use that EMP in the actual heist to take out all the guards inside of Humane Labs, and then use that Valkyrie you stole before to help out the people that are inside of the Humane Labs raid after they escape. So everything just ties in really well together in this heist, and I feel like that's how it should be. You have to have everything leading up to what you're doing to be engaging and actually have a meaning to it. And then of course we have Pacific Standard Job. Now this kind of counteracts my point of every setup leading up to the actual heist has a meaning to it. And this heist does have that, but this one is just so enjoyable no matter how you look at it. The first one, you have to take pictures of post-op trucks, and then you have to steal the right one. I don't exactly know why you steal a van for this heist, but I'm not going to question it. Then you had to steal an elite hacker from an island that'll help you out in the actual heist. And then stealing data from a van in the third setup, I think helps you out in the heist as well. I don't know how a lot of this helps, but then you have to hijack a Merryweather convoy in the fourth setup to steal thermal charges in order to rob the bank that you're going to be stealing from in the actual heist. And then lastly, you have to steal bikes that will be your getaway vehicle in the actual heist itself. So it might not make a whole lot of sense as to why Pacific Standard is at number 1, but there's so many memories tied to it. It's such a fun heist. Everyone has a role in it, whether it be just crowd control or stealing from the actual bank itself. And there's always funny moments. If you were there when this heist came out, you understand what I'm talking about. There's no memory that could really match this heist, and I feel like Rockstar should make more like this, where it actually feels like there's a meaning to what you're doing. And at the end of this heist as well, all your characters are there on a bridge drinking together because they just did a big job, and you almost never see that again in the game, which is quite unfortunate. Now that has been me ranking every heist in GTA Online. If you want to see me ranked every contract, which would be a lot longer of a video, let me know. But yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next GTA video I make. Peace out, everybody. Don't shit on me in the comments.